Shalom and welcome. This is Eliyahu Shir from Chesed Ve'emet, www.lovingkindness.co. I welcome you to this shiur in Derech Hashem, the way of God, written by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato, known as the Ramchal. Currently, we are on the part 3 of the Derech Hashem, and we are on section number 5 within chapter 2. We're speaking about this subject which is known as theurgy, and theurgy is the concept of dealing with spirituality, the spiritual side of life, connecting with God on the spiritual level. And what's so fascinating about this chapter, and this section in particular, part 3 of the Ramchal's writing, is he's teaching us some concepts of how God created a spiritual world. And the spiritual world is a part of existence, just as we have physicality and we can touch things, we can do things with physical matter, we can also do things with spiritual matter. That's what the Ramchal wants to come to teach us. It doesn't mean that we have to go all out and do these spiritual things, but there is a value in learning about it. There is a mitzvah to learn about it. There is a mitzvah to connect with God in many levels and to know that God is bigger than the physical world. Sometimes people feel that they want to feel there's no God. They want to say, I'll be an atheist. I don't believe in God. And they imagine to themselves that God is this, if there's this God, so to speak, that this God is only a thing of the physical world, and they can't work out how the physical world works in any case. And it seems like if God was there, how can good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? So they stay out of it, and they say to themselves, I'll remain as an atheist. Well, the Torah is bigger than physicality. The Torah speaks about spiritual beings. The Torah speaks about how to interact with the spirituality. And even just a very brief reading of this part 3, and even this chapter in itself, chapter 2, tells us and shares with us some of these secrets of the spiritual worlds and how God has allowed us to connect with them. I'm reading from the Sefaria.org site, and I'm reading from the Hebrew. I'll translate. And of course, you can follow along by reading the English here on the side as you wish. You can listen to me, or you can read along, just read quietly to yourself as you wish, whatever you prefer. Emtzaim shebahem yispatacha adam. These are the means in which a person is able to develop himself away from bodily things, from physicality, which means to say that Ramchal wants to point out that God has created physicality and spirituality. And as we said before, God allows us to interact with the spiritual. And now the Ramchal is teaching us how it is that we could interact with these spiritual worlds. However, the wisdom of God set up emtsayim la'adam. He set up all sorts of means for a person, shebahem yuchal hasig hatachlis hazeh, that through these means a person can get to this final point, im yirtzeh, if he wants to, means to say this purpose of connecting with the spirituality, v'yishtadel bam, and he can even make something happen over there. Zahayinu, which means to say, bitul gvulei hateva, he can actually nullify the boundaries, the restrictions of nature, ha'ele, of this natural world, in other words, mimenu, from him, ve'etziv atzmo b'matzav, and he can set himself up in a situation, shezachanu, that we mentioned above in the previous lessons, v'chol inyanam taloi b'ma she'efsharuhu ata. Everything is dependent upon, all these matters of dependence upon what it is that God allows him to do at this point in time. And this deals with inyan shemotav yisparach v'hapula bahim. It deals with the matter of the names of God and the effects, the actions that can happen because of him, because of these names. Now, in our Tanya Shi'ur, we spoke about Rabbi Yosef Gikatalia very briefly, and I really wanted to just point out at this point in time, it was another reason I wanted to connect all of this together, is that there's a very beautiful book that Rabbi Yosef Gikatalia wrote, which is known as the Share Ora. This is my copy of the Share Ora. You can see it has a very beautiful cover on it of some gates. And the Share Ora, Rabbi Yosef Gikatalia was born in the year 1248. He was a pupil of Rabbi Abraham Abulafia, the great Kabbalist. We have many of his works that have been recently printed. In particular, Rabbi Amnon Gross was responsible for printing these beautiful books that are available today. I always joke and I say these are, some of the books which contain some of the deepest secrets of meditation and connecting to God, books which were unavailable up until 20 odd years ago, completely unavailable to the average person. And today a person can walk into a bookstore and he can buy each of these books to the value of 50, 60 shekels, whatever it costs. You can buy the whole set for just a few hundred shekels and have access to all of these works by Rabbi Avraham Abulafia. And Rabbi Yosef Kikatalia was the student of Rabbi Avraham Abulafia, and he wrote this work called Sharei Oira, which deals with the names of God. And in it, he describes the power of each of the names of God. And we cannot take this lightly for a second, because just as it is that when we daven, we say God's names. Let's not forget, going back to our Tanya Shi'ur, this is the power of these 32 parts of wisdom, 22 letters of the alphabet, and the 10 digits in mathematics. And now we say the following: when we recite words of the Torah, we actually cause something to happen. When we recite a name of God, we cause something to happen. There are different names of God. Everybody knows there's a 4-letter name of God. This is the most powerful name of God. It is the tetragrammaton. It is the most essential name of God, the Shem HaMeforash, the greatest powerful name of God. With it, we can do wonders. We are not permitted to pronounce the name as it is written for whatever reason. Perhaps it is that the name is so powerful that it could even create things in existence that we should be careful about doing. It could do damage if we use the name in the fullest sense. But nevertheless, whatever the case is, it is forbidden to pronounce as it is written. And instead, we pronounce this name as Ador and then afterwards Noi. That is how we pronounce this name of God. There are other names of God that we read. Kael, Ka, Shakai, the name that appears on the mezuzah, on the back of the mezuzah, for example, and so on and so forth. Now, the reality is that all of these names of God produce something in existence. And when one understands how to use these names correctly, one can actually draw down shefa. One can draw down abundance into the world by simply concentrating on this name and having the kavanah for the particular thing that the name produces. Now, this is what we said very briefly when speaking in the shiur on the Tanya, when I showed this picture again. I'll show it again over here, where we're looking at the Sefirot. And there are 10 names of God that fit within these Sefirot. And also, as we see, the Mekubal or the Tzaddik or whoever it is who's making use of these Sefirot, use of the names, he's actually causing some sort of flow of blessing to come down into the world. There is holding onto the Sefirot, so to speak, in a physical aspect. Of course, it's all spiritual concepts, but so to speak, he's holding onto the Sefirot. He's holding onto the powers of the names of God that exist within the Sefirah. And as he pronounces that name, as he invokes, as he brings down the power of that Sefirah, he's able to bring down blessing into the world through that. Now, let's just go back over here. So the Ramchal is teaching us over here that this is the Inyan Shem Musav Isbarach V'Hapula Bahim. We're learning about the names of Hashem and the actions that can come about, the effects that can come about through the use of God's names. On an ordinary level, each one of us automatically makes use of God's names in our prayers in order to bring down blessing into this world. Kihine, and of course, there are higher levels, as we're going to learn about in a moment. But for our purposes, we all use God's name in order to bring down these blessings. Da, you should know. Kihine nisba'er, it's described, shekiyum kol hametzios kulam bichlalam ubipratehem, that the existence or the existence of everything in all of their generalities and all their particulars, Eino elah Adon Baruch Hu. Everything is only godliness. V'nimtzeu, consequently we find, shekol hanimtzaot v'sidrehem, all of existence and all the orders of everything in existence, bein ma shebekochot ha'elonim, whether we're speaking about the powers that exist above, bein b'nivraim haruchniyim, whether we're speaking about the powers that exist within spiritual beings, bein b'gashmiim, whether we're speaking about the powers of the existence in all of material things, אינם מתקיימים אלא במה שהוא יסברך שמו נמצא להם לתלות בו. None of this exists except through what God himself, where he finds himself in it, in order to base himself within that particular thing, which means nothing can exist without God's power and his force behind it. V'hine, and behold, hu nimtza umiskale, God is found and reveals himself, el kol nimtza'av, to all of existences, umashpia bam, and he flows out to them, he causes a flow towards them, kefi ma shera'oi lahem, according to what is fitting to them. God, in this capacity of creator, is constantly sending a flux, a flow of light, of power, of spiritual emanation to everything in existence in order that it can live and behave as it needs to in this world. Lekiyum inyanam, to fulfill all of their things. V'nimtzu, and it's found, consequently, hahashpa'ot rabot v'shonot, that all of these influences, all of this flow of spiritual power, and all the differences and the powers, kafi riboy hamakablim v'shinuyim, according to the abundance of those who are receiving it, and all the differences that happen, ubashpa'ot, and through all this influence, talu mitzios kola mitzios, it's dependent all of this existence, lemachlakosam, according to their different divisions, v'kol inyanehem, and all of their matters. And when all of this flow comes out, yoldu kol hatoldos hanoldos mehim, there comes out a birth of all the different things that come out through this, that are born through this. B'chol hishtalshenuts hanimtzaot, throughout all of these unfolding chains of events, one thing to the next, there's an unfolding, one energy to the next, First, there's this abundant energy that becomes lesser, that becomes less. There's a constant unfolding of the energy to the particular thing that it enters into. Kefima shesider, according to what he ordered, v'yikablu hamalachim, according to what the angels then accept, me'oro yisparach, from Hashem's light, hamiskale aleihem, which is revealed to them. Mashi kablu, whatever they receive, v'yashmi'u, and they're able to hear and make of ha'elyonim, the supernal beings, l'tachtonim, and then they're going to pass this on to the lower beings, mehem, v'atachtonim tachtonim, then the lower beings pass down from one level to the next to those who are lower, ad sof hishtashelus kulo, until the end of all of this unfolding. Everything flows from the one thing to the next. I used to have, as a child, I don't know if they make it any longer, but I always remember this toy, which sadly I don't have anymore, but it was very exciting. It was a set of blocks, a number of blocks in a straight line, and the blocks were all connected to each other with some ribbons. And what one does is one flicks one of the blocks, and as you flick the block, because of the way that the ribbons work, the block begins to fall from the one block to the next block, to the next block, to the next block. And what it looks like ultimately is you can see that the block that was on top is moving downwards until it eventually reaches the bottom. And this is basically what's happening over here. There's this flow of light that comes from God, and he lets it come outwards to the malachim, to the angels, and the malachim let the light flow downwards to human beings, and the human beings let the light flow down to further lower levels upon lower levels. The light keeps on going lower and lower and lower. V'amnam, indeed, however, Ratza Yisbarach Shmo Lihiyos Nikra B'Shem, God wanted to be called by a name. K'dei sheyochlu bru'av lehitore elav. It's not sufficient just that God bestows all of this light upon creation, but God wants a mutual relationship. He wants to be called by a name in order that we can connect with him, in order that all of the creations will be able to wake themselves up to him, and to call out to him, to mention him, and to become close to him. Just as it is that if we want friendship from one fellow to the next, we each have a name. And in order to make a connection, we usually don't just address each other by saying, pal, hey there, tap on his shoulder, say something to him. Instead, we call out his name. Chaim, Yaakov, Reuven. Then he turns around. He says, yes, what is it? How can I help you? And then we begin to interact with this person. We create the relationship of this give and take because we call out to our friends. We create attention, and he hears that, and he responds to us. God did not want to be a being who exists in a level of infinity and simply bestows to us. Rather, he wants there to be a mutual connection whereby we will call out to him, and the flow of light will come down towards us through our calling out to him. V'hine, and behold, Yichad lichvoito Hashem hamyuchad. He joined to the glory of Hashem, the Hashem hamyuchad. He joined to this the unified name. V'omar alav, and he said about this name, Ze shmi le'olam. This is my name for always. God said, here I am. V'hu Hashem shenikra bo al shem hakavod batzmo. And this is the name that he's called by in his honorable way. According to what he wanted to be called out. B'shem, according to that name. And we know that this name ultimately is the highest name, which is the Yud K Vav K, the 4-letter name of God, known as the Tetragrammaton, the most powerful name, the name that we use to connect with him on the highest possible level. Shevisi Hashem lenedi tamid. I place Hashem before me always. This is the name that should be in front of us in all times and periods in our life, wherever we find ourselves, except within a bathroom, for example. V'amna, however, kafi kol pratei hashpa'osav, according to all the particular influence that flows out, this flux of energy, this flux of light. Ratza v'nikra b'shem shonim. He wanted to be called with different names. Now, this is what we spoke about at the beginning. This is the book that Rabbi Yosef Gikatalia wrote. He wrote a book discussing over here. You can actually read the book. I made a link over here also. The Share Oira, you can find it on sefaria.org if you want to. But unfortunately, not all of it has been translated, just a couple of paragraphs. I hope that soon they will translate the whole thing and people will be able to read it online. You can see over here how he opens up his book. You asked me, brother, dear friend, to clarify in front of you a path about the names of the Holy One, blessed be He, the Exalted and Almighty, to produce with them according your will and to reach through them the objective of your desire. He starts his book out by sharing with us that the whole point of the names of God is to make a powerful connection and to cause things to happen. So if one reads also, if one goes to the article here in the Wikipedia of Rabbi Yosef Gikatalia, we can see over here that he says that the Share Oira is Gikatalia's most influential work. The Arizal called it a key to understanding the mystical studies. The Vilna Gaon and Zundel Salant recommends that their students study it. Among those who quote it are Moshe Cordovera, Yosef Karo, Chaim Vital, the Shlah HaKadosh, the Sfas Emes, Shem Tov, Ibn Shem Tov, Moshe Al-Shakar, and Yehuda Chayat. And long extracts from it are inserted by Ruvain ben Hoshka and Zeyalkut Uvaini. It was translated into Latin. And then he says the content and style is that it discusses 300 names of God, organized into 10 chapters, one for each Sephirah. Each Sephirah has one main name, but may have many others. Some names are associated with more than one Sephirah, and this is exactly what we're discussing. So we see over here that God has set up the world with these names, and he wants us to use these names to call out to him in order to effect changes in the world. He wants us to pray to him in order to effect changes in the world. When we say that we need parnasa, when we say we need refuah shlema, when we say we need children, when we say we need a zivug, a shidduch, when we say whatever it is, and we use these names of God in prayer, of course, for the meantime, we actually cause a change and it opens up a passage so that the flow of light should come down and should bring down blessing into the world. Okay, we've already run out of time over here, so we're going to stop at this point. We'll have to continue in our next shiur in the middle of point number I think we were point number 5. We'll continue. So we're going to stop here, and I thank you very much for joining me. Those who are watching on YouTube, This is Eliyahu Shear from Chesed Ve'emet. You can find my site at www.lovingkindness.co. And I look forward to being in touch with you. If you've enjoyed the shiur, please click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell next to the subscribe word where you can be notified of future videos. And of course, if you want to join us for a live shiur and perhaps ask some questions during the shiur, you're welcome to join us. I look forward to it. And of course, feel free to be in touch. I wish you everything of the best. Keep well. Thank you for joining me. Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye.